the Petroleum Industry Act of 2021, and the role of the National Assembly in further strengthening it. This act, a testament to the foresight and dedication of our National Assembly, has fundamentally reshaped Nigeria's petroleum sector, providing unequivocally how strategic legislation can serve as a potent catalyst for compliance, investment attraction, and robust sector growth. 2 years post-enactment, the impact of the PIA is undeniable. We have witnessed an astonishing 16 billion in investment commitment, a staggering 28,991% increase from our pre-PIA baseline. These are not just numbers. They represent jobs, infrastructure, and a renewed sense of purpose for our nation's most vital economic engine. At its core, the PIA 2021 has established a robust legal framework that has dramatically enhanced regulatory compliance across Nigeria's petroleum sector. Before the PIA, we operated under a fragmented regulatory structure, a table of overlapping mandates that hindered efficiency and accountability. The PIA swept this away, creating two distinct, powerful regulatory bodies, the NUPRC and the NDPRA. The Act's comprehensive regulatory framework addresses critical compliance areas that were previously, at best, inconsistently enforced: environmental management and gas flaring control, transparent licensing procedure, host community development, and corporate governance standard. Perhaps the most compelling testament to the PIA success is its remarkable ability to attract substantial foreign and domestic investment. The legislation has cultivated a far more favorable investment climate through a combination of crucial fiscal incentive and unprecedented regulatory clarity. As we all know, according to available data, Nigeria earned over 50 trillion in revenue from crude oil and gas export in 2024, and is projected to earn more at the end of 2025. And critically, our oil production in December 2024 reached 1.6 million barrels per day. It is with immense pride that I can state that Nigeria emerged as a leading destination for oil and gas investment in Africa in 2024, accounting for 3 out of 4 final investment decisions announced by the global oil and gas majors. This is not by chance. It is a direct consequence of the PIA that was meticulously crafted and that is also investor-friendly. What exactly made this possible is reduced tax burden, fiscal incentive, and regulatory certainty. This inflow of capital is a vote of confidence in Nigeria's petroleum sector and a validation of the National Assembly's diligent work on the PIA. Beyond the enactment of the PIA, the National Assembly has played and continues to play a crucial role in strengthening the post-PIA petroleum landscape through various oversight mechanisms. This is where the checks and balances of our democracy truly shines. Our legislative oversight functions are vital. The committee structure, the regular oversight visit, budget scrutiny, policy development, and so on and so forth. The success of the PIA provides a compelling case study on how well-crafted legislation can truly drive economic transformation in resource-dependent economies like Nigeria. The Act's comprehensive approach to regulatory reform has created a powerful multiplier effect across the entire petroleum value chain. Midstream and downstream impact: enhanced refining capacity through crucial private sector investment, moving us closer to energy self-sufficiency. Improve petroleum product distribution network, ensuring that energy reaches every corner of our nation efficiently. Reduce import dependence through domestic production, strengthening our economy and conserving foreign exchange. While experts and general counsel input is essential for post-legislative scrutiny and synchronization. Having charted the remarkable journey of the Petroleum Industry Act, it is crucial that we now turn our attention to the ongoing vitality of this transformative legislation. For the PIA to remain truly effective, adapting to a dynamic global energy landscape and addressing unforeseen challenges, we must institutionalize a robust mechanism for its continuous refinement. This is precisely where the invaluable insights of our nation's petroleum experts and our general counsels, the legal architects, and navigators of this complex framework becomes indispensable. Their daily engagement with the PIA's practical application provides a unique lens through which to identify the implementation gaps, highlight ambiguities, and foresee unintended consequences that no legislative body, no matter how diligent, can anticipate alone. Therefore, for further synchronization and effective post-legislative scrutiny, we must actively solicit and integrate our concerns. We must envision a future where the National Assembly specialized committees regularly invite you professionals to public hearings and dedicated technical working groups. Industry associations, professional bodies, and even our regulatory agencies like NUPRC and NMDPRA must be encouraged and indeed mandated to provide structured reports detailing their experiences and observations from the field. By embracing this collaborative approach, we empower critical stakeholders to provide the National Assembly with precisely what is needed for necessary amendments and improvements. Your feedback will illuminate where the PIA might be technically challenging, where legal interpretations create bottlenecks, or where the new global trend necessitates legislative evolution. This continuous feedback from the front line of implementation back to the halls of policy making is not merely an administrative exercise. It is a strategic imperative. It ensures the PIA remains a living, breathing document responsive to the needs of our industry and our nation, solidifying its role as a true enabler of compliance, investment, and sustainable growth for generations to come. A key reason for the PIA success lies in the deliberate alignment with international best practices in petroleum sector governance. The legislation skillfully incorporates elements from highly successful regulatory frameworks in countries like Norway, UK, and Canada, while meticulously adapting them to Nigeria's unique context and aspiration. We have adopted key international benchmarks like separation of commercial and regulatory functions, transparent licensing system, environmental standard, and host community development. By learning from the best and tailoring it to our need, we have crafted legislation that is both globally competitive and locally relevant. In conclusion, the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 represents a landmark achievement in Nigerian legislative history. It stands as compelling proof that strategic legislation can serve as a powerful enabler of compliance, investment, and unparalleled sector growth. The National Assembly's pivotal role in enacting and tirelessly overseeing this transformative legislation has yielded remarkable results with amazing growth in the downstream sector, which is leading Nigeria to secured energy future. The evidence overwhelmingly supports the PIA success, from a truly outstanding increase in investment to achieving 1.6 million barrels per day in oil production and generating over 50 trillion in revenue. These figures are not just encouraging, they are a clear validation of the PIA effectiveness. However, we must not rest. Continued legislative attention is absolutely required to address the lingering implementation challenges, particularly the persistent and economically crippling issue of oil theft, which continues to cost Nigeria approximately $79 million per day. This is a battle we must win. The path forward demands sustained engagement from the National Assembly. This means enhanced oversight, carefully targeted legislation to address our security challenges, and unwavering support for our regulatory bodies. By diligently building on the robust foundation laid by the PIA, Nigeria can not only achieve its goal of becoming a leading global petroleum producer, but also ensure sustainable development for our host communities and the broader Nigerian economy. The PIA experience offers a compelling and inspiring model for other resource-dependent nations seeking to transform their extractive industry through legislative action. It demonstrates with evidence that with political will, broad stakeholder engagement, and comprehensive regulatory reform, legislation can indeed serve as a powerful catalyst for economic transformation and sustainable development in the petroleum sector.
My learned colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this edition of General Counsel and Legal Advisors Forum for the oil and gas midstream and downstream operators in Nigeria, where we share insights for enhancing regulatory compliance and effective operations in the sector. Our industry continues to be a key driver of revenue and a catalyst for industrial growth, energy access, and national development. The scope of operations of the sector covers hydrocarbon processing, wholesale marketing, transportation, storage, distribution, and retail, and its complexity requires more than technical efficiency. It requires a unified compliance culture rooted in robust and enabling legal frameworks, transparency, accountability, and shared responsibility. The role of legal practitioners is critical across the midstream and downstream energy business value chain in the promotion of optimal regulatory compliance to all set rules and standards of operations in our complex operational and volatile market environment. Over the next 2 days, I am sure that strategic and pragmatic solutions will be established from this forum that shall enhance the overall performance of the midstream and downstream sector as we all work towards the creation of shared value for our investors and, most importantly, the extensive market of Nigeria and the region. The authority is grateful for the opportunity that you have given it to collaborate with you through this platform. Learned counsels, the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 has fundamentally restructured Nigeria's petroleum industry by delineating regulatory responsibilities of our industry into the upstream and the midstream and downstream petroleum regulation operations. The Act prescribes that all operations in the midstream and downstream sector can only be conducted under appropriate licenses, permits, and authorizations granted by the NMDPRA, and the authority is fully guided by these provisions of the law in providing regulatory oversight of the industry. The PIA also mandated the NMDPRA to make regulations concerning midstream and downstream petroleum operations in consultation with its licensees and stakeholders. And we note and thank all of you for your effective participation and contributions in all the stakeholder consultative sessions that we have held over the years, which has led to the issuance of all the regulations that have been gazetted for our sector. As a result of the feedback received from our stakeholders on the need to strengthen regulatory compliance through simplified and clearer regulations for the midstream and downstream operations, NMDPRA is implementing an inclusive stakeholder process of streamlining the gazetted and published regulations to A, mitigate the complexities of navigating and implementing numerous regulations. B, eliminate inconsistencies and repetitions across multiple regulations. C, streamline regulatory processes for ease of business. And D, encourage investments in the midstream and downstream petroleum industry. I implore us to kindly use this forum to critically review and make recommendations on the above, to enable us improve the overall compliance of operators and the performance of the regulatory instruments, legal frameworks and licenses in the midstream and downstream sector. When we issue regulatory instruments, we require effective compliance. It is compliance with extant provisions of the law that allows continuity of operations and the grant or renewal of licenses. We enforce compliance to ensure that operations are concluded safely, the environment and consumers are protected, and fair play is observed in the industry. My learned colleagues, it is evident that effective compliance is a result of effective collaboration. Collaboration allows for the development of enforceable regulations, best industry practices, and synergy between the multiple stakeholders in the industry, including other regulatory agencies and international institutions. The NMDPRA has diligently upheld this collaborative approach in all its regulatory activities, and we are proud to assert that our regulatory provisions are very much inclusive, sustainable, and world-class. Indeed, this very engagement we are having today is in continuation of this collaborative regulatory approach. Ladies and gentlemen, compliance with regulatory provisions is mandatory and beneficial for all the stakeholders of our industry. It is therefore imperative for companies to adopt regulatory compliance as a critical element of their organizational and business culture. Compliance should not be reactive or be viewed as a business risk, but rather as an integral part of business philosophy. Companies should internalize the fact that regulatory provisions are made to enable business sustainability and to facilitate responsible operations. We at NMDPRA assure you of our continued commitment to effective stakeholder collaborations that fosters ease of doing business, investor confidence, and sustainable operations.